one nation under God.
Thank you. Jamie, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Jeff Capel,
Here.
Councilwoman Jill Cole, Councilman Lee Zerwanka,
Here.
Councilman Brian Gath,
Here.
Vice Mayor Pramod Javeri, Councilwoman Katie Schneider,
Here.
Mayor Mark Cirkin,
Here.
6 present.
May I make a motion to excuse Councilman Cole from tonight's council meeting?
Second.
Can I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Tonight, we have a public hearing to consider the approval of a combined concept and final development plan for a planned unit development in the Summit Park zoning district. This is ordinance 2022-08. This is the first reading. We will not be voting on this tonight. With that, I'd like to have a representative of Red Dog come up and please present your project.
Can I start with reading the title of the ordinance for you, just for the record? Approving a combined concept and final development plan for a planned unit development for a 1.7 acre parcel at 10635 Techwoods Circle in the Summit Park zoning district.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for your time. It's nice to see you all once again, talking about something different than the blue, but we're excited for you here. Greg Lund, we met before, representative of Circle Development, who of course is the developer for the Blue Apartment project as well as the owner of the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa. So I'm going to walk you through our presentation.
You could speak into the
Speak
microphone
into
more or
the
be
microphone.
louder, because I know I'm
Is it
having a
not very
hard
loud?
time.
Me too.
And if I am, I know they are.
Okay, I'll speak up. Is that better? Slightly?
Slightly. You're not nearly as loud as I am.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Handheld?
Handheld might be comfortable.
All right, I can do it that way.
As long as there's not terrible feedback.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Have to drive it. I think you did. You want me to try? Oh, it works. You got it. Okay. So I think before getting into the specific piece of property I want to talk about, I just want to talk about the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa in general, give you guys a background of the business, how long it's been around and what the focus of the organization is about. So the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa was started by Ray in 2007, essentially a premier world-class pet resort and animal hospital. We have two states of focus. One is Ohio and one is Massachusetts. Over the past 15 years, over almost 3 million dogs have been guests, because it would include cats and dogs, have been served across the 6 different facilities that are part of the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa. Couple more bullet points. So again, founded in 2007. The first one was in Cincinnati, actually in Madisonville, and I've got a little bit more detail on that. There's currently 6 locations. 3 of them are in Ohio, all within 10 or 15 miles of here. And then 3 in Massachusetts, all within about 10 or 15 miles of Boston. A couple, key components to what the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa does to differentiate itself. One is 24/7 staff. So the facility is always staffed by somebody on site for the safety of course, all of the guests. Another focus of the business is around large outdoor and indoor play areas. So huge focus on the premier care associated with pets that are fortunate enough to stay at the Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa. From a sort of a mechanical quality perspective, the air has changed in the buildings, all of the buildings, every 10 minutes. So it preserves, fresh air, high air quality, and of course, a clean, fresh smell. Guests that are staying on property, which happens either during the day through the daycare program or overnight through the boarding program, are walked outside at least 4 times a day, which is a premium of care. This gives you a little bit of a locus map as to the current location. So of course, on the left are all locations in Ohio, and then on the right are the 3 locations in the Boston market. So today, focusing on the Ohio market, of course, the Madisonville location was the initial location in 2007. Mason was added as ground up new construction. And then Springdale was actually a repositioning of an old Staples building, which I'll show you a little bit more. And of course, the focus tonight is on the hopefully the future Blue Ash location. So this is the property, of course, that we're talking about. It's the old Applebee's. It's part of Tech Woods. And here's some pictures of sort of the current property. The Circle Development bought this property about a year ago under the guys that this would be a good use for this property. Just sort of looking down the road, these are the kind of core businesses, the Gatherings, of course, which is another Circle Development asset, Childtown, MTM Tech, and then all the way in the back, the former Applebee's. And here's a rendering of what we see it looking like under a plan of an approval under this PUD. So as you could tell, the focus is on a very, very high quality resort amenity. Large canopies, very beautiful aesthetic, high quality materials, and of course, lots of outside areas for the pets to enjoy. Just giving you sort of a view downward of what the property would look like. All the way on the left-hand side, you could see that's Reed Hartman, just to orient yourself. On the right-hand side is, of course, Tech Woods. We'd be scraping the building and building a new facility from the ground up. Will be roughly about 17,000 square feet. So I wanted to just walk through a couple of the examples of other properties that have been heavily repositioned. The Madisonville location was previously a drive-in. You could see that on the left. And then of course, here's an aerial of what it looks like on the right. This again was ground up development, about 26,000 square feet, and has been a real amenity to the community. Ray's Red, the Red apartment building is actually in front of this property, and we get a lot of shared use between the two properties. This is the current Springdale location. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was an old service merchandise and a Staples. We actually bought the entire property. We retrofitted the service merchandise into a Circle storage, and then we retrofitted the Staples into this Red Dog Pet Resort and Spa. So obviously a very marked difference. Another example of a heavy repositioning. This is in North Boston. On the left, you could see the previous building. It was an old auto body shop, very, very heavily modified with a large scale renovation to make it basically an urban Red Dog location. So diving into this property a little bit, really trying to understand the surrounding property, the usefulness of the property under any other use. We just sort of look at the aerial and see where the property lies. And then we look at the current tenants that are in the property, understanding, that at some point in time, this was a more productive area, but today, it represents a lot of vacancy. Of course, as you always do with any property, especially when you're looking for support on a PUD, looking at what the other sort of potential uses of the property are, and really walking through what would be allowable here from a zoning perspective. Of course, office as being desirable, but really walking through where the market is today. There's about 1 million square feet of available office in Blue Ash today, broken down. So it's about 25% of the market, 22% vacancy on the Class A front, 26% on the Class B front. What we also understand here is that this is just not going to be a desirable location for office users, given the amount of other current available opportunities in the market, such a large amount of vacancy. Really digging into the likelihood that this would be able to be used in the future as a retailer or restaurant. Again, we fall into some of the same challenges. This location was previously an Applebee's. It suffers from somewhat poor visibility. Of course, you can see it from Reed Hartman, but your ability to actually access the property is, not desirable for either retail or restaurant use. Of course, as you all know, the previous owner had stopped operating. We'd gotten feedback from, market brokers, folks very familiar with what's happening. People are going to help us on the blue. And we basically learned that actually second generation retail restaurant space is doing fairly well. You have a restaurant that's already positioned. Restaurants are in demand today. We see a lot more people returning. However, with this specific location, it suffered from any real amount of interest. So, really trying to switch gears a little bit, saying, well, what could be positive about, repositioning here in the use as a Red Dog. We have really seen that the Red Dog does provide an amenity for not just the residents, but also for office users and a workforce that's coming into the market. Specifically commending Blue Ash on the job that you all have done in terms of helping your employers attract employees. Many of those employees are going to be millennials, Gen X's. And when we really look at that, we see a population within, subpopulation within in the markets who really do they look hard towards animal ownership, with millennials having 32% pet ownership and Gen X's being 24. So clearly something that I think a productive workforce is looking for from an amenity perspective. And we have, of course, seen whether it be residential or office based, this being an amenity to, an immediate location. And we did, of course, do some competitive mapping to, try to take a look and see, where other, potential locations exist within the marketplace. Of course, this is the location that we're talking about today. Camp Bow Wow is located over here. You have a Puppywood Pet and Resort that's up kind of at the interchange here. And then, a couple other players in the market as well. What I like to say about sort of this market is we believe, very wholeheartedly that there is certainly enough demand. And given the sort of premium positioning of the product that we build, we think there's more than enough room for, multiple users. And we sort of underscore that by looking at just maybe a little bit of comparative, of course, children and pets. Not the same, maybe more children than pets, but they can be treated that way sometimes. And you see the number of total locations available, in the market today from a child center perspective. Economic impact, these pet operations, especially operating at the premium level that a Red Dog does, have up to 20 full-time employees at any given point in time, really ranging from, a manager, assistant managers, reception folks, pet techs, who are, have a veterinarian type of quality about them. And then, of course, groomers for the next level of pet care. Our locations serve thousands and thousands of people every year. And then when we start seeing what really actually did happen during the pandemic was a very, very large increase in the number of pets. So 23 million pets were adopted during the pandemic. All of our facilities today have bounced back exceptionally well. Of course, as you could imagine with, people not going to work and a lack of travel, the pandemic wasn't super friendly to pet resorts, but we've been very, very pleased with the amount of sort of resurgence on the customer side. And we do see a strong demand from this specific market, meaning Blue Ash. We ran a report on our customer base across the 3 locations that I previously mentioned. And we have over 1,000 customers that are arriving at those locations in the past 12 months from Blue Ash. And we do believe that the market that suggests that the market is looking for premium pet care services. So in summary, we believe that the Red Dog at Blue Ash would provide a much needed and desirable community amenity. It will create some activity, in a, I would say an immediate sort of trade area that's sort of suffered from high traffic. And maybe with some of that traffic activity, the gatherings, the Red Dog, child time and other things going on, we can see an uptick in sort of the desirable nature of the properties in that general vicinity. Of course, we believe that the property does struggle with a highest and best use analysis, at least based on the current zoning. And we believe that, the Red Dog provides a unique opportunity in that market. And so just sort of summarizing, we're, asking for council to approve Red Dog's PUD application tonight. Of course, open for any questions or answers.
All right, thank you. I think what we're going to do is let the public have first crack at coming up and giving comments. This is just on this particular subject. So if you want to talk about something else, that would be later in hearings from citizens. there anybody that would like to talk about this particular development? Come on, you're good. We've met.
My name is Peter Nord. I live on Ken Ridge Lake. And I'm really pretty close to this facility. It's within walking distance of my house. And I think these people should be congratulated on their ability to make a presentation that is legible to the audience. This is one of the few presentations I've seen recently in which the type is big enough to be read by the people in the audience. And I think that if that is an indication of their professionalism, then they're up there among the top presenters. And I have one question. I wonder why there isn't a veterinarian on the staff. And another is the Blue Ash College has a vet tech program. And I would think that there would be the opportunity for chatting back and forth between a facility like this and the people in the college that are teaching students. And maybe even it's an opportunity for vet tech students to come and practice at a place like this.
Thank you, Mr. Nord. Is there anybody else that wants to comment on this subject? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment section and turn it over to council for questions. Anything you want to ask the developer? We typically don't deliberate since this is a first reading and we're not voting tonight, but
Any comment from city on what came out of planning commission?
Questions on, as far as timing with, are you, so it's 24/7, but are there specific hours where people are allowed to come in and drop off and pick up?
Yeah, the pickup drop-off hours are generally during normal business hours, of course, extended at night, but not into, not past 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We'd have to see exactly where the market. When we say 24/7, it's that there's somebody physically in the plant during that period of time in case if there's any issues. So it's actually for the safety of the pets and for the reason that they're all night.
Yeah. As I read here, by planning and zoning committee has rejected 4-1. Can administration tell us what was things that it was not appropriate, which is they rejected, or we can ask him.
I think the general sense was they just, as a group, I don't think there was a particular thing. They just felt like they didn't think that was the right use at this point in time. So
But that they were talking about some other things that you didn't show the picture of your fence on the back, which we have it here, but you didn't show us there. I don't know whether you show or not.
This is the Reed Hartman side of the property.
Yes.
right here. I think our understanding is that this is of course, a meaningful facade for Blue Ash. And, we of course have a willingness to work with the city in any way that makes sense, given, what you all like to understand about that facade a little bit more.
But can you tell us what was that particular things that they rejected for?
Sorry, I'm John Bishop. I
Yeah.
work with Sturkle Development. I'm in the construction development side of the company. When we presented to Planning Commission, their comments were more twofold. One was fencing was a concern because code, it doesn't speak to vinyl or chain link fencing. We don't use chain link fencing at all, but we do use fencing to keep a buffer and a barrier so the dogs can't see out and people can't see in. We also don't want the ability to have anybody interact with the dogs from outside the facility. We did speak at that time to the planning commission saying if that particular type of fencing, whether we buffer it or not with landscaping, is what's an issue of any kind, we can work with administration to overcome that. But that's what our primary use is at all of our other facilities. The biggest concern that I felt planning commission had was the use of a PUD for this particular parcel. PUDs are for acreage of 2 acres or more. This is 1.75 acres.
Right.
So I felt like they really didn't even want to get into the project and what we were putting there. It was that they didn't feel like the PUD was appropriate. And they were concerned about using it as a spot zoning criteria. And so I felt like we didn't really have a discussion about the proposed use. It was just that they were against a PUD in general for this particular piece of property.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, just one thing I'm curious about, is this exclusively like a daycare setup where you bring your animal in and take it out the same day, or is there any long-term or like vacation term component to it as well?
Sure. So all of our pet resorts have multiple uses. We do grooming on site as well as daycare. We also have overnight stays as well. So there's a threefold component with the facilities.
Okay, thanks.
I will, go ahead. You want something?
No,
I will say one comment I did hear was it was just an aesthetic component from Reed Hartman Highway from that elevation. I know that there was a little concern about that, but like you said, that's doable. This property's been sitting for 5 years, maybe more. So there was also a comment about it being a premier location. I think that the 5 years is kind of says a lot about that. So as far as what other uses there could be for this. So just a comment. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing, and this will be brought up likely at our next meeting for discussion and deliberation and probably a vote. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of September 8th, 2022?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jamie, do we have any communications to council?
We do, Your Honor. There's a request for the transfer of a liquor license from a location in Marymount to the Swing Fit Golf LLC on Kenwood Road. The police department has approved it or has reviewed it and has no objection.
Drinking and golfing. Good. Who would have thought? Any reports from outside agencies? Seeing none, the mayor's report will be entered into the public record for September of 2022. Do I have a motion to accept the financial report for September of 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move to hearings from citizens. If you wish to speak, please approach the microphone and state your name and address. If you have any materials to pass out, please give them to Jamie, the clerk of council. Please keep your comments as brief as possible to allow others a chance to be heard. Hearings for citizens is for us to listen to you and your neighbors. It is very
Well, I have to
unlikely.
tell you ahead of time, you can hardly understand what you all are saying out here in the audience. So can you understand what I'm saying?
I can.
Okay,
Is everybody else having trouble with us? I'm getting a lot of no's. I'm sorry, but
okay. I am Glenn Mavety.
I'm not done yet. Can you give me a minute?
Sir?
I'm not done reading the rules and
Oh,
regs.
I'm terribly
okay.
sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Thank you.
So hearings for citizens is for us to listen to you and your neighbors. It's very unlikely we're going to make any remarks immediately after you speak. We need a chance to reflect on your comments, sometimes research the subject, consider city codes and legal issues. Sometimes during miscellaneous business, we do revisit an issue brought forward. The clerk of council will notify you when 3 minutes are up, and at that point, please wrap up your presentation. Most importantly, let's all treat each other with dignity and respect. The floor is yours. Yes.
First, I apologize for interrupting your, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, just keep closer if you want to use the,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. I want to compliment the council for this tax abatement policy that you instituted several years ago. It has been a godsend for Blue Ash, in my opinion. Lots of improvements. On my street, West Avenue, did I introduce myself? I am Glenn Mavity, and I live on West Avenue. West Avenue has been a tremendous beneficiary of the tax abatement. We have 12 new houses, tear downs, and rebuilds. Fantastic. We've had 3 major modifications of other houses. Fantastic. However, recently, there has been a situation developed on West Avenue in which they bought a lot, tore down a single-family house, and now they're building 2 shotgun houses. It's at the north end of West Avenue. These new houses that they forced on this property, it's an 80-foot wide property, are 28 feet wide. I mean, you could make it a double wide trailer for that. It adds nothing to the street or to the area. And also, the same company has bought a single lot over on Cooper Road, right up here in the turn, maybe a quarter mile to the east of where we are right now. Okay, it's terrible. I mean, they rammed these houses into this lot, and it's a mess. Now, I don't know how that got through the building permit allocation. I don't know. I mean, somebody should have been on top of this, you know, right away. Does that mean that if you go to a smaller lot, you make the houses smaller, but you still can have the spacing right? I don't know. All I'm suggesting to the council and whoever's responsible for planning and zoning and permitting, you got to do a better job. It's fantastic what has been done on West Avenue, as I said previously. But you don't want this kind of housing to be permitted to occur again. We have 2 lots where this has happened. That's all we need. Do you have any questions?
I think you were very clear.
Okay, I certainly hope you all take this serious because it's a mess. And I invite all of you to come over and look at these properties. Up on Cooper Road, as I said, and on West Avenue. And just to add one more point, not more than 100 feet away from where these 2 shotgun houses are being built is a massive 4,000 square foot house that's just been built. Fabulous house, right on the corner of Ridgeway and Brown. Large white, and right across the street on Ridgeway, there's another large 4,000 square foot. So somebody in the permitting department has to go out and find out what the hell they're doing. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste and good evening. My name is Vijaya Chaturvedi and I am a Blue Ash resident for 15 years and with my husband and my 2 kids. I also work at Children's Hospital. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about Hindus of America. We are pleased to celebrate this month as a second Hindu Heritage Month. More than a dozen states have declared October 2022 as Hindu Heritage Month. Tonight, I would like to give you a brief overview on Hindu community in America. We have been a significant part of the national mosaic for more than 8 decades. Today, it's estimated that there are close to 6 million Hindus in USA, or close to 2% of US population. There are several millions more Americans who have incorporated one or more Hindu practices in their daily lives, like yoga or meditation. The earliest Hindus' immigration to the US was recorded in 1600. Hindus started migrating in significant numbers in mid-1900. The majority have immigrated from India. The rest were from Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, the African continent, the UK, and Tobago and Guyana. There are also some Hindus that came from refugee from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bhutan. Now the second and third generation of American Hindus are carrying forward their parents, grandparents' religion and cultural tradition of valuing education and hard work. They are working in every field like science, technology, engineering, medicine, business, education, law, journalism, politics, judiciary, armed forces, space exploration, or anything else. In every field, you will find American Hindus excelling while striving to bring about equitable freedom, education, and social justice in everybody's lives. I would like to share some basic beliefs. Inclusives are, there is one truth, wise described it variously. Respect for all viewpoint. Hindus have long tradition of resolving differences through dialogue. Everyone is free to follow the path that suits him or her. Anyone can achieve self-realization, not limited to any exclusive group. Ahimsa, the non-violence, you all know what Gandhi started, follows directly from slogan, whole world is one family. Nature is seen as an entity with its rights and responsibility, not a property to be owned and exploited. Reverse for knowledge and the guru as a teacher. We define in Sanskrit, tamsoma jyotirgamay, meaning darkness into light or ignorance into knowledge. Knowledge is seen as a goddess of Saraswati, hence deserving reverseness. The transmitter of knowledge is Guru. The Guru is given the utmost respect. Close-knit and stable family system. In traditional Hindu society, the basic building block of society is family, not individual. Traditionally, multiple generations live under one roof as a joint family. Respect for elders, parents, grandparents, and neighbors, even strangers. Seva and charity. Selfless service of humanity, service without expectation of any reward or recognition. Hindutva epitomizes human rights, animal rights, environment, protection, and sustainable and harmonious living. In spite of our law-abiding, peaceful living in harmony with all nature, I'm saddened to say there are hate campaigns targeting us, often emerge from communities with vested geopolitical agendas. Powered by almost unlimited funds, they play a dominant role in media and academia and have a noticeable influence on American politics. We ask you to join us celebrating and recognizing October as Hindu Heritage Month this year and in the future. In closing, I would like to say if there is any issue concerning Hindu arises, we would request the city government to collaborate with us for a resolution. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
First, before I begin, I'd like to say Happy Hindu Heritage Month. I'm Terry Goodman. I've been a 30-year resident of Blue Ash. I'm currently in the Carpenters Run subdivision. I'm here to address apparently an issue that's been here several times recently, and that's the city's persistent failure to maintain and preserve the tennis complex. A quick walk across the parking lot will reveal that the complex is in embarrassingly poor shape. This winter's freezing and unfreezing will cause the large number of cracks to become larger and will cause the courts to become more unplayable. particularly court number 2. The condition of the courts is discouraging since it violates Blue Ash's written, published mission statement. The Blue Ash website highlights that, according to Blue Ash's tennis is committed to promoting the lifelong sport of tennis. Since 2005, as part of the earnings tax levy, Blue Ash representatives repeatedly have promised that the tennis complex would be rebuilt. My experience confirms that Blue Ash has repeatedly broken its promise. On May 29th, 2009, I met with former Mayor Weber and Recreation Director Funk to discuss the courts. I had a long meeting and put together a presentation several pages long. And I was told that after the meeting, the courts were a priority and would be part of an upcoming budget. Nothing happened. 10 years later, on June 13th, 2019, I sent an email to City Council that described the problems and promises to rebuild the courts. This is a portion of the email. When spring 2019 arrived, I anxiously drove to the tennis courts, grabbed my tennis shoes, put on my new white shoes, and opened a can of tennis balls. When I reached the courts, I saw people enjoying the fresh air and hitting bright yellow tennis balls. That's the good news. Blue Ash has a wonderful resource. People use the courts. The March-April 2019 edition of Tennis Magazine highlights the value of the city preserving the courts and maintaining a vibrant tennis program. The magazine reported that in 2 recent studies, tennis players were shown to live longer lives than people who played any other sport. The bad news is that the city is squandering a valuable asset. The fencing has lifted and is bowed. Balls continually roll outside the court. The courts are cracking. The surface paint is fading. The ground in front of the hitting wall is cracked and buckling. Several nets have openings. The windbreaks are torn and several are missing. I met with, and this is part of the email, I met with City Manager Waltz, then Recreation Director Funk, and Mayor Weber in the spring of 2011. During the meeting, I was assured that the renovation of the tennis courts was the city's top priority. The situation has become more urgent. Please, and then it said, please, the City Council, visit the courts. I think you will agree that the tennis courts that sit in the city's front yard makes a poor impression on visitors, guests, residents, and workers.
3 minutes.
Thank you. If the city lacks a financial resource to keep its commitment, I have a suggestion. Enter into a partnership. Several years ago, the village of Amberley and Mount Notre Dame jointly built tennis courts on the Crest Hills Country Club property. The city should explore a similar partnership with Moeller, Ursuline, or even the Sycamore School District. Please take the necessary steps into the budget and funding the city's honor to commit and promote the lifelong sport. Promises of a first-rate facility in the future is not enough. Blue Ash should honor its commitment and immediately rebuild the courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Anybody else like to speak?
My name is Mark Novel. I live in Ravenwood, 9520 Longering Court. Been a resident of Blue Ash for about 28 years. I too am going to talk about tennis a little bit. Not quite as Terry, but just to let you know that.
Make sure you're getting closer.
Just
to
to
the
let you
microphone.
know that, you know, it's a sport that's multi-generational. Every time I go up there, you either see the small children playing that are in a tennis camp in the summer. Then you might see Sycamore, Moeller, Ursuline kids playing in the afternoon, and then some of the more mature tennis players like myself in the evening. So certainly it's a multi-generational sport that's been a blessing for my family. I remember watching Pete Sampras serve up there many years ago when the ATP used to come here to practice. They certainly wouldn't now with the way our tennis courts currently are in the condition they're in now. The other thing I was thinking about is how important it would be if we have another COVID crisis. I think that, you know, you can go up and play tennis outside. It's a safer environment than maybe some other things. So certainly it'd be nice to have those back in the shape that they were at one time. You know, I think that, you know, it is getting a little bit, some of the cracks are a little bit dangerous. It does worry me at times, but hopefully you guys will consider putting resurfacing or a full-fledged, something in your budget to maybe keep these up to date. So that's all I wanted to talk about tonight, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Nagel.
Hello, I'm Mike Frazee. My address is 5325 Cooper Road. I wanted to mention that I would encourage the city to increase their green area allocation in their land use policy. I mean, you have some nice parks, but you only have 3 parks. When I look at some of the neighboring cities, like Montgomery has 6 parks and 2 nature preserves. Loveland has 9 or 10 parks and 2 nature preserves. Sharonville has 4 or 5 parks plus Sharon Woods. Indian Hill allocates like 27% of their land to natural preservation. When I look at your land use policy, it said that you target to have 1/3 open space, green space, 1/3 residential, and 1/3 business. But when I look down in each district, I see nowhere near does any district have 1/3 green space. In fact, I dumped some of the numbers into Excel and took the acreage of green space divided by the total acreage in all blue ash, and I got like 5% allocated as green space. So maybe I don't know what you're considering green space or how that's broken down, but I would ask you to reconsider looking at your land use policy to make sure that you're meeting your targets on that, because it seems like you're a little bit behind in some of the other cities. And, things like that, you can't really put a monetary value on. There's no return investment on these kind of things, but I think they're good for public health and good for the planet and everything else. So just encourage you to take a look at that and see if you're really meeting your targets. Because when I looked at it, it didn't seem to make sense to me. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Council. My name is Kevin Walk. I'm at 4328 Peppermill Lane. I've been a resident for about 2.5 years and live right across the street. Get to look at this guy PJ's house every day when I come home. So I want to start out by saying this is my first council meeting, so I appreciate all the work you guys have do for the city as a relatively new resident compared to the other speakers here today. And I also dislike coming up in my first visit and talking about things that are upsetting to me. So I want to start by saying that this is a lovely place to come. I have a family, my wife, and we have a 13-month-old at home, and we have a dog. We love moving in. We love everything about the neighborhood. We love the rec center. We love all the amenities so far. I do play tennis. Maybe it could use a little improvement, but the focus of mine today that I'd like to bring to your attention after saying thank you for all that you've done so far is saying that I do have a concern that I sent you guys all an email about a few weeks ago related to the Summit Park Dog Park area. I do believe I copied every council member on that email, as well as the city manager, and Mr. Cruz over there actually was kind enough to respond to me. So my concern is that as a relatively common visitor to that area, with the new pavement project that is in front of it, I saw some bird's eye view drawings or renderings from some of the emails that have been sent to the community showing just a massive amount of parking spots added to that pavement area directly in front of the fence for the dog park. There's not an area right now where you can park very close to the dog park. But if you're ever in that dog park area, whether you're visiting that or you're just kind of standing around, you do see so much significant traffic, whether it's pedestrian or bicyclist, or, my wife and I often push a stroller around. We have many dogs. Of course, you are going to be a pedestrian walking a dog to that area. My concern specifically is that in the renderings that were given, there was no input whatsoever to a sidewalk area in front of that dog park. I do believe, again, if you go back and look at your emails, I've tried to spell it out with some pictures and some drawings as best as I was able to. The more concerning part was that Mr. Cruz was able to respond and said that it was considered that pedestrian safety were taken into account for this project, and then it was just totally ignored because it wasn't in the budget. As a relatively new resident to Blue Ash, I can't tell you how many sidewalk squares I've seen poured in this city so far, just in the 2.5 years I've been here. We have immaculate sidewalks. It seems like one of the big focuses for the connectivity plan is to promote pedestrian use of this city and the different amenities we have. I just feel like that's extremely out of line to not take a sidewalk 100 feet further than what already was paved.
And then the response was that it just wasn't in the budget. To me, seems like a pretty poor response to what I would consider an extremely unsafe area. If you're putting cars next to areas where pedestrians are walking through, or bicyclists need to get from the main parking lot or main park area over to that runway area. You have joggers, you have people with strollers. I saw one evening back in the summertime, a cross-country club that had formed up right beside the dog park. Probably 40 or 50 young men and women that are probably high schoolers, I would imagine. There is a significant amount of pedestrian traffic in that area. And to not take that into account for that redesign, I think is a great failure and concerns me as a parent and a father of a dog too.
3 minutes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
I do have a connection with your buzzer, so buzz me and I'll give me 10 seconds and I'll feel it. My name is Joe Holker, 9715 Sycamore Trace, and a 25-year resident of Blue Ash, 20 years roughly on the Sycamore Trace Civic Association Board, many years at the Recreation Board, and then Board of Sites and Board of Zoning. So I've recently taken my first online course with Ohio State University's Municipal Planning and Zoning course, sponsored and promoted by the City of Blue Ash and paid for. So thank you very much. Through my development, commercial development, residential, this course emphasized the important decision a city makes and the long-term impact it will have in the coming decades. The next huge project is the Blue in Blue Ash. The architect in the renderings, it appears that the architect's trying to tie in the corner glass building, which, if there's a push for glass buildings, is the whole downtown area where, going to be rezoned for glass buildings so that there's some consistency through the city for future development. I believe in September, the September 8th council meeting, the Blue was definitely on the agenda. Council member comments were that more apartments in the downtown area were needed to help the businesses prosper. I disagree. The city should be designing and promoting by zoning an area that has character to it so that people are attracted to want to come to the city for a certain reason, not including the businesses that go in there, but some character related to the development. Blue Ash is competing with Montgomery, Madeira, Loveland, Sycamore Township, Milford, Cincinnati. Good restaurants and developments with character is an important aspect of all of these. In all these cities and areas, I don't see too many glass building developments in any of these competing glass in these areas. I would also reconsider your design. I know it's in the starts, it's in the architecture. I think there was some promotion for the approval to send it to bidding, but nothing can be, it's not too late till you start putting a shovel in the ground. And I would reconsider also the amount of apartment density that was planned for in that original approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm not going to talk about tennis courts because I've heard too much about that in the last 2 meetings. So good luck with that.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'm going to close it.
One.
Well, come on. No, yeah.
My name is Peter Norden. I live on Kenridge Lake, and I don't have a dog in this statement that I'm going to make. I have no financial interest in what I'm going to say, but as an introduction, I want to say that I have a PhD in physical chemistry. I grew up in an industrial environment. If I had been 100 years ago, I probably would have been on a farm and learned how to milk cows. But except I learned how to make battery chargers, semiconductors. I was a member of the National Advisory Committee for Occupational Safety and Health, appointed by the Secretary of Labor. And what I want to talk about is an issue of community safety. I heard the police chief of Madeira, Indian Hill, give a talk on lithium batteries, which I think it would behoove you to invite him to come and give the same talk in your miscellaneous business section. It doesn't take long, because there is a problem with lithium batteries and the disposal of them. When I asked the city to think about having a mechanism for the disposal of batteries in the waste collection stream, the city indicated that it was not interested in doing that. And yet we have Rumpke garbage trucks dumping trash on city streets because it has a fire in it caused by lithium batteries. And I'm sure Chris would be happy to give you details on the kinds of things that they have seen. If you have a fire with an electric car, nobody knows what to do about it. People have suggested digging a hole, putting it in and flooding it with water. So there are problems that do not have easy solutions. There are problems that are bigger than a small municipality like Blue Ash or the other 50 or so municipalities in Hamilton County. Things need to be done at a state level or even a national level. And the city needs to figure out how to get involved in that process and maybe take a leadership position in that process with their fire department, because the fire department is going to have to figure out how to put out fires when they have this, the sources of lithium battery.
3 minutes.
So I'm giving you some food for thought. You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during hearings from citizens? Seeing none, we're going to move along. We're going to move to committee reports, finance and administration. Councilman Lee Zerwanka, chairperson.
Thank you, Mayor. Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-53 by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to confirm continuing membership in the Miami Valley Risk Management Association, Inc., MVRMA, and to accept the 2023 pool contribution amounts.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-53.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just another annoying technical item. The title of the resolution in front of me states resolution number 2021-53. So,
I have corrected it on here.
okay, cool. Otherwise, I'm fine with the content of this.
Any others? Seeing none, Jamie, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-54 by title only.
Resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-54.
Second.
Any discussion?
Aren't we one of the lowest in the region at 3.08? Wendy and
Yes,
I
we
were
are.
figuring out the other night how to get your house value, then the appraised value, then 35% of that, and then the millage, and try to figure out, and we got it.
Just say,
We
And-
pay our $440 to Blue Ash every year and happily.
any other discussion? Seeing none, Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-55 by title only.
Providing for amendments within the 2022 annual appropriation resolution number 2021-64.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-55.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Good. We're going to move to Councilwoman Katie Schneider for Parks and Recreation.
Hey, Jamie, could you please read resolution number 2022-56 by title only?
Establishing a framework for the production and administration of major special events coordinated by the Parks and Recreation Department, authorizing the city manager and a specific designee to enter into a range of professional services contracts, enabling the presentation of major special events within Blue Ash.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-56.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
Is this the one of we special event? We hire some people from outside. Is this what it is?
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
The next item I have is a motion to proceed with bidding the Town Square project.
Second.
How do we proceed with this? Just
You do
discussion?
discussion and then a voice vote.
All in
Discussion
favor?
on this?
Voice affirm.
All in favor?
Aye.
All I have, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to move to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Vice Mayor Javari.
Mayor, thank you. Jimmy, would you please read resolution number 2022-57 by title only?
Approving a final plat for Arabella at Summit Park containing 35 lots and totaling approximately 3.1 acres. The current Hamilton County Auditor's parcel 612-0120-0383.
Move to suspend the, move to,
Don't have to.
think about
You don't have to. You can go straight to adopting a resolution.
move to adopt the, or move to adopt the resolution number 2022-57.
Second.
Any discussions? I see in the map, this is 35, and I counted 37 plots. I don't know.
So, well, it's both attached and detached. So I think there's actually 49 units accounted for in total.
Okay. Any other discussion? This is the project nearby the Summit Park on the left-hand side. So everybody knows what's going on, and these are all the apartment, all these condominiums going on. That's what this one is for.
Our last housing development for the
Last-
park.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Jimmy, would you please read that?
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to move to Public Works Committee, and Councilman Graff is going to
Jamie, will you read the title of resolution number 2022-58?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an easement agreement related to the Ham Plainfield Roundabout project.
Move the adoption of resolution 2022-58.
Second.
So this is, we're trying to maintain the sidewalk during construction of the roundabout. And where we had originally planned to put the temporary sidewalk, we'd have to build a bridge. It's not a good place to do it. So it was better to move to a different portion of the land to do that. And this is what it costs us to do that.
Yeah, I had a very nice lady from Peppermill call. She works at UC Blue Ash, and she wanted to make sure that she would be able to walk to UC Blue Ash, which I checked it out with Gordon. It's very doable. She'll have a crosswalk. She'll have to walk a little south on Reed Hartman, but she'll be able to go to work and not have to drive.
Well, and this is just the temporary getting through there, but yes.
All good.
Is there any more discussion on this? If not, Jamie, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
6 yeses.
We're moving to the Public Safety Committee. Councilperson Capell.
All right, and now for the fun legislation of the night. I move that we establish trick or treat hours in the city of Blue Ash on Monday, October 31st, 2022, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Anybody
Second.
like to second that, or do we? take
Second.
trick or treat now? Jesus.
We're gonna leave you hanging.
I'm a little scared right now, honestly. A little creeped out, but that's fine.
Second.
Okay, do we need any discussion? No, if not, we'll, I guess we don't need a roll call on this, so I'll just call for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any stooges say no. That's all I had to do.
All right, we'll move to miscellaneous business. David? Kelly?
So I put a memo in your council packet asking you to consider your meeting time of 7 PM. I never really thought about it until I recently read that some other cities are making a switch to earlier meeting times. And so I just wanted to throw it out to council to see if you had any interest. If you do, I'd like to know soon because we are about to go to print with the annual calendar.
Personally, I'm very open for it. 6 o'clock, I think maybe people coming home from work could stop, go to the meeting, and then go home and not have to, rush through dinner and to jump up here. I don't think it would be a negative effect. But I'm open to whatever you guys decide. That totally.
I'm just in favor of 7 o'clock. That's a perfect timing because people can time for the dinner time. I'm good for 7 o'clock. It's good.
You must eat late.
Eat late.
I'm an early bird.
We can also think about it and decide at the next council meeting if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be enough
Because
time.
yeah, I mean, just maybe talk to some people, talk to some constituents and see if they would find it easier to get here at 6 versus 7. That's kind of the idea. And then the staff won't have to stick around after work for an hour or two to get to these meetings, which would be nicer for them. So why don't we just think about it? It looks like I'm getting a lot of idle no's, so.
Well, it's, as long as it's not earlier than 6, I think it's okay. I don't, I wouldn't go along with a daytime suggestion in here because that is going to impact whether the ability of us to get council members who have full-time jobs. And I've been to any number of daytime meetings in other locales. And so even though there's a comment in here about supposedly there could be that it's not hurting attendance, but the type of people who can attend daytime meetings is much smaller. If you got a full-time job, you're not attending daytime meetings for the most part. So I don't want that, but 6 or later, I think is okay.
I haven't heard any comments from the public going like, this is a burning issue one way or the other, so.
I just thought maybe this would be
I
a
have no
reach
real-
out to a few people and say, would it be easier for you to get there at 6 or would 7 still the best? I mean, that's the first thought I had.
Yeah, I'm open. So.
Yeah, I will offer, if there's any trepidation about 6, when we have a few workshops, including the budget one and other, we do them at 6, no problems. And when we have open houses, we typically do them at 6. So that's not an unusual time.
Okay. Julie, anything?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Gordon, how's those roundabouts going?
They're moving along. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, if the weather permits, we will be doing some asphalt paving out there and final striping on the portions from the Kroger roundabout all the way through the Plainfield and Hunt roundabout, all the way up to Georgetown. So hopefully that part will be paved and finished. So then we can move on to the Plainfield Peppermill area.
Have you found a replacement for the cement? Not the concrete, the cement?
Yeah, we're still working on that. So what Mark's referring to is we've had, as you've probably heard in many different areas, we have a material supply issue with cement, which we use to stabilize the soils underneath our pavement section. And it is a pretty bad issue. There's limitations on concrete. Most of the cement is going to the concrete batch plants. So it is an issue that we're trying to work through so it doesn't further delay our project.
You were in the paper mill entrance from the Reed Hartman Road. You were keep changing the dates to close that area. Is this still going on, or?
Yeah,
Is this because of the cement? Is that a problem?
Yeah, we've had some delays with some of the contract work that's been done out there. So the contractor is the one that establishes that time frame. They've had to keep pushing it back for various issues. Once that time frame has been verified, we're going to go around house to house and pass out flyers so that everybody knows what the details are with that closure.
Yeah, because everybody was wondering, it says we keep
Right.
on extending the constituents of the paper mill. This is what's going on, why we are doing it, and what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked a question. Thank you.
Yep.
Brian Cruz,
Nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
Chief Theaters.
I just want to take a moment to thank the community and council. We had a wonderful open house again this year. It's very hard to kind of figure exactly how many people attend, but we think between 400 and 500. And so again, it's something that we enjoy doing, giving back to the community, and we really appreciate the community coming out and supporting us. So thank you.
Yeah, it was great. Lieutenant Gerhardt.
Stepping in here for Chief Knoll tonight. We also had our open house back in September. So I really want to thank all the department heads that helped out to make that a huge success. I think we also had about 400 or 500 people that showed up. The weather was great.
You had 500 or 600. I think.
We had
Yeah.
700 people that showed up,
835
more than the
people
fire
were there. I
department.
counted.
Drone verified.
I was counting. So we had a dunk booth there that helped raise money for our police association. So I'm not sure who brought the Little League baseball team that dunked me 200 times, but I think it was Mr. Pacheco. So, but it was a great time. For those of you that came out, we really appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Paul, I see you back there. Anything? Barry? Solicitor, the man.
I would say it was hard to get Lieutenant Gerhardt because he's such a small target, but that's all I've got to say. And I'll be safe on the way home tonight, I'm sure.
I'm sure you will. Wow. Jeff.
Yeah, just a preview of some stuff that I think I'm going to introduce at the November meeting. We have heard a lot about the tennis courts, the pool, and so forth. When we own a building or a facility, we have a responsibility to maintain that building or facility. And as of late, council's been rather enthusiastic about helping private developers maintain their facilities and so forth. but there's been less enthusiasm towards maintaining what we own and are responsible to maintain ourselves. The pool especially, and perhaps the tennis courts as well, are kind of stuck in a Groundhog Day. They're always 2 years away from being redone. Whatever day you wake up, whatever month you wake up, it's always going to be 2 years away. Now, the buck stops with council, and sometimes it takes council to get something moving to make sure that it's going to be done. So at the November meeting, I'm planning on introducing legislation that is going to require that both of those, what you can call them facilities or whatever you want to call them, that both of those projects are to begin in 2023 and must be done by the start of spring sports season in 2024. This is not even a radical notion. If you read the 2021 capital improvement plan, it said that the pool would be done in 2023. So we have previously been told that is a 2023 project. So my legislation is just going to take that from being an item on a spreadsheet to being legislation with more force behind it. And the other, so I'm giving the preview now just so to give fair warning to everybody, whether it's council members, administration, members of the public who have an opinion, bring all your stuff, bring all your thoughts to the November meeting, because we're going to be casting a vote on that one way or another. And then the other item I'm going to bring up at November is over the past number of years, we have commonly been running surpluses on average of around several $1 million based on all the information that we're getting. And we have not been returning that to residents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce legislation to produce a surplus rebate to residents. I still got to work out details, but where I'm going with it is a rebate that would be equivalent to about $1.525 million. That is the exact amount that we just gave to a developer to improve their own property. So if we're going to put our Santa Claus hats on and give $1.52 million to a private developer to improve their private property, we can be just as generous to our residents. And with the budget surpluses we are running, we are more than capitalized to do that. So be prepared. Those two items will come at the November meeting. I'm not going to bring them up at the second October meeting if there is one, because our second meeting often gets canceled. So I'm just setting November as the date where I'm expecting to have that ready. That's all I've got. Thanks.
I do think it's fair to say two things. I hope there wasn't a characterization that there's neglect on the pool or tennis courts. Money's been spent on both of those frequently. Staff is making frequently a good investment at the right time decision, number one. So believe me when I say rec would love to spend more and more money. So, but they also want to be very diligent and responsible for it. And I know that you particularly lecture about us all the time. So I just want to be very clear that when you say, oh, we've neglected it, we haven't. Staff's been very diligent in making sure that it's a good investment at the right time, number one. Number two, something also happened. The capital improvement plan is an aspiration. It's not an implementation plan. Something happened in 2021, and that's called the pandemic, that set everything back about 2 years. So to characterize that as something we knew for sure that this council voted on is absolutely incorrect. If you want to blame administration, that's fine, but I just think it's very unfair to blame council that they said they were going to deliver a 23, because you will not see that even in the retreat that we did last year or earlier this year. That was not characterized that we had that specialized in there. So I don't mean to seem upset about that, because I think it's fair game to talk about a lot of things. And I find it ironic that early in my career, I was accused of spending too much money on recreational projects, and now, being told that there's not enough being spent. I think the staff has tried to be very diligent about spending it at the right time, at the right place. There's no lack of passion for pools, tennis courts, or any other. We had 5 or 6 comments tonight. We even had a request for more Summit Parks. Whether we can afford that or not while giving back the other $1.5 million while increasing all these demands, or something council's going to have to think about. So.
Anything, Councilman Zerwalka?
Just my compliments to the both the police and the fire department on their open houses. They're very well attended and the residents really enjoyed them. So good job on those. Thank you.
All I have is just to echo that the open houses are great. We weren't in town for the police, but my son really enjoyed running around the fire station.
My son wouldn't attend the open houses with me, but I sure enjoyed running around the police station, the fire station. And more importantly, my wife and I really enjoyed the Oktoberfest Brew Ash, which I think has happened since we last met. Great events, one and all. And what's especially noticeable to me is that, you know, these aren't actually, the police department's not party planners. The fire department, that's not their primary role. And so to do such a fine job, I think speaks highly of them. I'm curious, Mr. Mayor, about your aspirations. If you're going around and calculating property taxes and figuring out that black magic, perhaps the recorder or the treasurer is something that you're running for. I don't know. You heard it here first. And then there was a memo also regarding additions to the plan for Town Square Park. Was that discussion going to happen here?
So I took your vote as proceeding with Town Square Park without the clock option. Since but you certainly can bring it back up and add it if you want, but since it wasn't discussed at that time, we took it as, okay, we're just not proceeding with the clock option for now.
That's fine with me. I didn't realize that's what we were deciding. I don't know if anybody else is on that page or not.
I was under the understanding nobody was that was not a priority. Kind of talked about that, but I would definitely proceed without the clock tower as being an amenity at this point.
Looking for
So-
So you want to
consensus
talk to him,
or-
you may give him the direction right now?
You can re-clarify that now if you want to. I mean, there's no harm in doing that. I'm telling you, when that vote happened, there was no discussion. I was like, oh, okay, so apparently we're just moving with the base project.
With what you gave us. So do you want me to make a motion? Or,
No, just-
Whatever you want to do.
well, we don't have to.
I think we need to give him the direction, number one or number two, view number one, number two, so.
Or
That's what the
or
direction-
number zero is what he heard us say, was that there was no clock.
How about we make a quick motion? And then I'd like to make a motion that we proceed bidding out the Town Square project without including a clock tower. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Is that good enough? Okay.
That's all, that's enough. Last thing on timing. Having tried to plan meetings in a volunteer sitting for many years, I think actually later times are easier for people with kids. I'm past that. I can do earlier meetings now, but that 7 or 7:30 even is by the time kids are off to bed and whatnot. So I can do 6 o'clock meetings. I just throw that out there as reasoning. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should all reach out. Because that is a, significant change. Vice Mayor.
No, nothing. I just want to compliment the fire department. They did a great job. And I took one picture of like a 1.5-year-old girl. She had a whole mouth full of the cheese coney, and both hands, she had a conies, of the small and the large one. And she was just running around. I took the picture. I told Rachel to put it down in our magazine next coming, and it is so cute. And people were so much enjoying. Just unbelievable the response over there. So congratulations that, and good job. That's all I have.
Just a couple things. I went to the Hunt House Open House and they actually had a very good crowd. Brian, I was very excited and I met some Blue Ash residents who've been here a long time that have never seen it and really had a really good time, really interested and learned a lot. So that was good. Fire department open house was fantastic. We had a good time there. And it definitely was just as big exactly as the police's. As a politician there. As far as amenities in general, I've been on council now 8 years, and to be honest with you, if we built every amenity that residents have asked for over the years, we wouldn't have any police and fire. We'd have indoor pools, we would have an incredible amount of things to do, but we wouldn't have anybody to protect us. So with all due respect, I do love the fact we have a healthy budget surplus each year. I think that's a good thing. There's rainy days. Sometimes the economy turns down, and sometimes there's pandemics, and sometimes there's inflation. So yeah, we could check all the boxes, and Brian Cruz would be the happiest person in the world. But I hope we continue to be a little careful with our budgets and make sure that we always have a nice reserve for a rainy day. Councilman Capel, I never wanted to mention things, but you lecture us a lot, and you do it very passionately, and you do it with a lot of assurity. I would ask you that maybe you come to the strategic planning sessions from now on. You were the only one that didn't show up this year. You left early a couple years ago, and then you come in here and lecture us about planning and the future of the city. So maybe consider in the future being a part of it, because all of us were, and almost everybody, and also every director of each and every department was there. So
Okay,
with
well,
that.
Considering that I am the only member of council who has never missed a Thursday night council meeting, I do not need a lecture from anybody here about attending things.
Well, you give me a
So-
lecture, you gave us a lecture again tonight, and you do it on a regular basis.
If you want to
so-
talk about my attendance, nobody has my 100% attendance.
Yeah, you have a
record
0%
at these meetings.
attendance, the
So-
strategic planning sessions this year, 0.
Great. Well, then
Okay.
when council wants to plan these sessions and make them productive, I'll come to more of
Okay.
those. We'll do that going forward.
You can decide what meetings you want
But
to
the fact
come
is,
to
we
from now
have
on.
these Thursday night meetings. Council members should not hesitate to bring forward their own ideas, do their own
Absolutely.
research, and produce their own legislation. And just because most people here don't want to do that does not mean I'm going to lower my standards and refuse to do my job at the level that I think the job needs to be done at.
And you can continue to choose which meetings you want to come to.
Well, I'll
So, just
continue
like the
coming
rest
to
of us, I think.
100% of these.
Okay.
And the rest of you
With
guys are all
that-
free to join me. Of
With
course, not
that,
everyone's here.
I would have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Executive
Oh, we
session.
do. I'm sorry. I'm irritated, so that's why. We're going to move into executive session for personnel matters to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or an official. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
The move.
Second.
Jamie, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin,
Yes.
6 yeses.